What's up, y'all? I'm Gabe, and this is my review for the epic, ultimate Barbenheimer. Now, I'll start with Oppenheimer just because that's what I watched first, but if you want to skip to the Barbie review, just skip to the timestamp on screen. But don't think for a second that I wanted to watch Oppenheimer first. It's only because there were no seats available for the entire Barbie showing, so I had to watch it after Oppenheimer. And first thing I gotta say about this movie is that Christopher Nolan did it again. All the filmmaking techniques that Nolan uses are in play to make this movie's cinematography beautiful and to make it look fantastic like an actual bomb is going off, even without CGI. Of course, Nolan claims that there wasn't a drop of CGI in this movie, and if that's true, then I think this movie officially cements Nolan as easily one of the greatest filmmakers alive, and honestly, he has a good shot at making it as one of the best directors of all time. Then, of course, Nolan's choice in actors is amazing because their acting is phenomenal. The cast is stacked, and I don't think there's a single bad performance by anybody in this movie. Especially shoutouts to Robert Downey Jr., Cillian Murphy, and Emily Blunt doing fantastic jobs at accurately portraying the Oppenheimer himself and his friends, family, and colleagues. They all do such a good job acting that normally, when I would see someone like Robert Downey Jr., I'd be like, hey, that's Iron Man. But his character is so developed and radically different from any of his other performances that I can't even see a world where he would play Iron Man after watching this performance. I would be shocked if Robert Downey Jr. and Cillian Murphy don't at least get Oscar nominations for their performances in this movie. And with Downey having one of the most fantastic reveals in the last 30 minutes, if you don't know much about the Oppenheimer story, it's a fantastic reveal that really shocks you in the end. That's also one benefit that this movie has, is that because Oppenheimer is such an important historical figure in the U.S.'s history, Nolan does a great job in demonstrating why he was of such importance, and he does a great job in showing us how the events during that time transcribed. Also, the score is amazing. It gives me that sort of 2001 Interstellar vibes, which makes sense considering Kubrick and Nolan directed those two films, and we can clearly see the influence and inspiration that those movies had on this film. In terms of the length of the movie, after the first 45 minutes, it had my attention locked and had me on the edge of my seat waiting for what was going to happen next. I especially loved the interrogation scenes, as they are where the actors' performances can truly shine, since it's solely focused on them and we don't have to worry about anything else. I also really enjoyed how time flowed throughout this movie. A lot of times when movies constantly jump back and forward between the present and past, it staggers the movie and ruins the pacing of it. But having that jump back in time while telling that same story in the present added to the direction and style that this movie had, making it feel much more like a historical documentary rather than a biopic about Oppenheimer. Surprisingly, also, the movie does a great job managing its time. It's 3 hours long, yet it never feels that way with how fast, exciting everything is in this movie. Especially once they start the creation of the actual bomb itself, that next hour long of the movie feels like 20-30 minutes. The only two bad things that I have to say about this movie is that like half of the movie I couldn't understand. One example is in a multitude of scenes, Cillian Murphy is walking up and the music is building because he's about to do something important, but as soon as he starts talking, the music reaches a climax and I can't hear a word the dude's saying, or any other character in that scene. The other critique that I have is just that the first 30 to 45 minutes of the movie was so slow, and I thought a little bit too much background was given about Oppenheimer's early life. I understand this decision because a lot of people have no idea who Oppenheimer even is, but to me it just felt a little too long, and honestly I even fell asleep in the first 5 minutes because it was so slow. But those are complaints that are so minuscule compared to how good the actual movie is, and I think it's definitely a must watch if you like historical documentaries or you're a fan of anything made by Nolan. Next up, I watched Barbie, and I know I'm not the demographic for this movie, just like I wasn't for the Mario movie. They're clearly not aiming for a 21-year-old college student to watch this movie and come out of the theaters enjoying it. But the big problem with this movie is Mario just had a lot more going for it than this movie. With Mario, they had a bunch of little Easter eggs for people who used to play the games. It was much more entertaining, and on top of that, it was like 20 minutes shorter, which really negatively impacted this movie for me. First, with some positives, I have to call out that Ryan Gosling, Simu Liu, and Michael Cera absolutely carried this movie for me. Now, of course, Margot Robbie did a fantastic job at portraying a doll learning how to be human for the first time, kind of like that Terminator series, but way more friendly. And as soon as it got announced, we all knew Margot Robbie was the perfect casting for this movie. But those three main Kens stole the show. Almost all the comedic jokes came from them, and they were the best part of the movie. Especially if any other person tried to make a joke, for my whole entire theater, it just fell crickets if it wasn't one of them three making it. Along with the different dance numbers and songs, really helped this movie be much better in my eyes, because it helped really immerse yourself into the movie and into that Barbie universe. Now that I'm mentioning the universe, I can say that the set design and costume design of the characters and world is something that I've never seen before, and it truly is amazing to watch on the big screen. It's bright, vivid, colorful, and it fits the Barbie theme so perfectly. I can't imagine any other filmmaker other than Greta Gerwig making this movie without watering it down. I even can say I really enjoyed Will Ferrell's character and the Barbie board members. I just wish they had more screen time. They kind of just would show up, tell Barbie, get in this box, chase her, disappear, come back, disappear again, and then come back for final scenes. But because they would disappear for so long at a time, you would forget that they were even in the movie. Now, one big problem for me is just that this movie is way too long. After I finished the first half of the movie, the jokes were hitting less, they were less impactful moments, and it just felt like some of the dialogue-heavy scenes were dragging on for eternity. What's funny, though, is during some of the sequences in the movie, I got jump scared a bit, because the theater right next to us was playing Oppenheimer, and every time an explosion went off, I was like, whoa, something's going on with the Barbie universe. Is this like a secret twist that I haven't seen? Oh, never mind, it's just Cillian Murphy doing his own thing. And also, the two human characters that helped Barbie get on this, solve her midlife crisis and get on with her life, just felt so flavorless to me. They really gave me vibes of David Cross in Alvin and the Chipmunks, where on the one hand, Dave does a good job at making the Chipmunks feel real, but his arch enemy David does not. And America Ferrera and Ariana Greenblatt just felt like David to me, where they didn't feel like they belonged in the universe. And finally, the Barbie movie was just constantly trying to hammer home to the audience members the message that women are powerful, they can do what they want, and they're even better than the men in most scenarios. But the weight of the message just gets watered down every time they talk about it. By the end of the 2-hour film, they probably had mentioned it like a good 20 times. And the big problem with that is, we don't need to hear it over and over. Once we hear it a few times, we got it. But because of that, it just kept bogging down the movie, and those scenes clearly could have just been cut. But other than that, it was pretty good. I can easily imagine myself, if I was some high school teenage girl, that I would easily have enjoyed this movie, or at least seen it as a way to see the perspective that the Barbie toy had on our world, being able to completely change the landscape of toys and women in our society. Alright, that was my review for Barbie and Oppenheimer. If you guys are still here, thanks for watching, and if you like this video, hit that like and subscribe for more. Bye, guys.